I did some reading. I want to give you some information. In Michigan, a permit to carry a concealed pistol requires that you prove your identity and your residence, that you're not a convicted felon, that you get training in gun safety, and demonstrate you can use a gun with some skill. It requires at least 8 hours of training. And you may wonder, why not more? But it does require 8 hours of training. Why am I telling you this is important? Because in other places, you can get a concealed permit license without any training whatsoever. In fact, in the magazine Guns and Ammo back in December of last year, again following Newtown, one of their columnists, Dick Metcalf, asked the question, are there reasonable regulations for guns? And suggested that gun safety training be mandatory for all concealed permits everywhere. He said it in the magazine Guns and Ammo. He was just fired. The readers demanded it, and his editor was fired too. Because the understanding, at least in that community, is that any regulation is the slippery slope to gun freedom curtailment. I'm not sure I agree. But I do know that the way we have been traveling as a society is not working. Registering guns, licensing guns, banning guns. We don't know what to do around this. We're frozen in place, hiding behind walls that we won't come down. Now, I'm going to offer you an alternative. I don't own a weapon. I'm not an expert. But here's a thought, just a thought. I'll give you 2 to take with you. If licensing guns won't work, why not license owners? And I don't mean that in a pejorative sense at all. Let's use the automotive analogy. You can own and operate a car on your own property without anyone watching you. If you can get it to your house, you can drive it all over your backyard, you can knock down your garage, you can do whatever you like, and no one, including the police, can stop you. However, the moment you get it out onto the street, they're going to want to see a driver's license. Because it's when you interact with other people, when your freedom encroaches potentially upon the life and well-being of others, that the state says, wait a minute, we want you to prove you can do this well. Well, what if we did the same thing for gun owners? If your purpose in owning a gun is just to defend your home, if it's never going to leave your house ever, if you're not going to shoot it anywhere except a bad guy right there in your house, don't get an operator's license. You're doing it at home. On the other hand, if you intend to carry it somewhere, take it out in public. Go hunting. I want to make sure you know what you're doing. I think everyone would like to know you know what you're doing. I lived in rural Massachusetts for 10 years, way out in deer country. You know what hunters do in the morning when it's cold and they want to warm up, don't you? They take a little brandy. Have you ever gotten into your car thinking, I'm cold, I think I'll have a little drink before I start driving? And what happens is that those same gun owners, they think they see a deer and they fire a bullet. And more than one person in my town found holes in their laundry hanging out in the back of their yards. These are people who had not been trained, who had not learned how to use weapons well. I posted the story of an experienced hunter who died by accident because the other hunter he was with failed to disarm the weapon before handing it to him. I think that gun user licenses make a great deal of sense in not owning, and it has no thing to do with whether you own a gun or not. Doesn't say you can't own one, doesn't say you can't own 2, 3, or 4. But if you want to use it anywhere outside of your house, I think we should be asking them to be licensed. Now, will licenses lower the death by gunfire rate? Probably not very much. But if gun owners were the champions of gun user licenses. If they lifted up the value of trained, educated gun use, much as Mothers Against Drunk Driving has made drunk driving disreputable, it might make a difference. And if being a licensed owner and operator were a fact, the law could very well give you more, shall we say, benefit of the doubt when something goes bad. The same way, if you drive without a license and you have an accident, you are in far bigger trouble than if you have a license. Licensing gun use. Not the gun use. One idea. Second idea, also derived from the automotive industry, require insurance. You know, if I were an insurance underwriter and someone showed me the 6 guns they had in their house, I'd be doing the actuary numbers in my head really fast. Because the ownership of a gun does not lower the risk of damage or death in your home. It raises it. And if I were an insurance underwriter, I'd like those premiums to reflect that. Now, I don't think we can require people to buy insurance before owning a gun, but I do think, like an automobile, we can tell them that if they don't own insurance, they are going to be held to a much higher accountability than if they do. Yes, I'm saying that the failure to secure weapons well would make you guilty of a crime as well as liable for the damage. And again, nothing infringes on your right to own a gun, to keep it, or even bear it. It just means the consequences of doing it badly are more explicit and more real. Both of these ideas, very simple ideas, do no harm to our freedom whatsoever. What they do is they make the practice of that freedom more responsible, or at least make it more clear what irresponsible use of freedom is about. 100 people a day continue to die by gunfire in America. I think knowing that is the first step up that wet hill. Mourning the grief of those people. 100 funerals a day. 8 of them children. That's another step up the hill. And then when we ask how we honor them, here's the question. Does America and its freedom require that we sacrifice 100 people a day for the right to keep and bear arms? Is that a price that is unavoidable? Is that a level of sacrifice that we must be prepared to give, or can we do better? My heart says we can do better. We can do better because I think we are better than this. For example, we once thought we couldn't be America without slaves. We were wrong. We got better. We once thought we couldn't be America if Catholics or Jews were the same as regular Protestants, and we were wrong. We once thought America could not be America if gay and lesbian people got married, and that's proving wrong. Every America we have defended because it was at risk has been smaller than the America we have become. And I truly believe we can protect and preserve all our liberties, including the right to bear arms, without burying 100 people a day, without mourning 8 children a day. We can do better than this. How shall we honor them and our veterans and our fallen soldiers and our police and our fire and our other protectors? Not with parades or salutes or flags folded or flown, touching as they are, and they are deeply touching. We honor them by becoming a better nation. We have before. We still can. In Hosea, the prophet whose words I read at the beginning, it goes on to say, he who is wise will consider these words. He who is prudent will take note of them. For the paths of the Lord are smooth, the righteous can walk on them. We know the way. It's just wet and uphill. That's the only challenge. And that's all I can tell you today. I am out of wisdom. I have failed again. I'll try again next week. See you then. And amen.